Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Susan Campbell, joined by my friend, my coworker, Simone Curulo. Thank you so much for being here. People see you all the time on Good Morning Arizona, and you always do these, Simone, on social segments. You are all over the place, and I thought, my goodness, you are the perfect guest co-host for this podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I feel like this is long overdue. We've been talking about doing a podcast for a while now, so this is great.
And here we are. I had to actually ride the elevator up with you because you
me.
didn't know where the podcast studio was. I was like, Simone, how long have you worked here?
I knew it was somewhere upstairs. I didn't know if it was the second floor, the third floor, which direction off the elevator.
We're here.
Yes.
We're ready to go. And now that I've got you on the hook, I'm going to bring you back in all kinds of times. So.
Okay, let's do it.
So today we are kind of talking about this whole world of content creation. Social media is a huge part even of our jobs, but we're not doing it in the same way that some of these content creators are, really like engaging with millions of people sometimes. And I just am so fascinated by this entire world of how we start scrolling and just feel like we know people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just the way the industry has changed over the past 5-10 years. I've been in the news industry for a decade, and when we were just starting out, like posting on Facebook was just starting to become, okay, you're going to do a web story for your news story that you're on, and then you're going to post that on Facebook, and that's going to generate viewership. And now we're kind of in this world where viewership is primarily digital, and it's starting on our phones, on our smaller screens, and then we're trying to kind of gauge that audience to come and join us on TV. So it's a little bit backwards now, which is kind of difficult for us to navigate in the news industry.
The old folks, is that what you're calling me?
Not at all.
That's what I heard.
You know, even like from the managerial and executive standpoint, like I think we're really lucky here. A lot of our bosses get it. They get that digital comes first. And I think a lot of these businesses and these stations that are kind of putting digital on the back burner, it's like, you're going to get left behind because this is the future and the future is here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There is an expert in this space that I'm so excited to talk to, Giselle Ugarte. You are just a content creation magician, I think. I scrolled through your page and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do everything this woman is doing. I want to be a part of all of this stuff. You coach people on how to become more visible, make content more relatable. For people who don't know you, who may have not landed on your page, just give us the quick introduction to who you are.
Well, here's something that you might not even know is that my world actually started in your world.
Wow.
I was doing entertainment news in Los Angeles for a really long time. And it was at that point in media where we were starting to see this little platform called YouTube. Maybe you've heard of that one. And I was trying to get myself into different casting rooms and networking with producers because I was doing the entertainment thing. So in LA, there were a lot of different networks that you could choose from or try to get in front of. And it wasn't the traditional start in a small town kind of a thing. It's like, who you know? And I was sending my headshots. I was sending my resume. I had to physically print out my headshots and resume. That's how long ago this was, like 20 years ago at this point. And every single time that I would have this manila envelope, it would be $25 per, and maybe it would end up in someone's trash can if I was lucky. And so all of a sudden, here's this tiny little platform called YouTube where, hold on a second, I can make a video. I can customize the video. I can film it at home. I don't have to leave my house. I can send that video to someone's email directly and just copy and paste, and it's free. And that was something that for me, my eyes opened up to this possibility. And I was someone who was working with a lot of these entertainment news networks to help them understand, hey, there's this other world over here. There's this other place where people are watching and they're waiting and they want to get to know you in a different way. And so fast forward 10, 15 years later, I did TV, I did radio, I worked in advertising, and then the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden you had so many of these massive companies whose budgets were cut or became non-existent. They no longer had access to their production teams. And I was like, hey, let me show you what you can do with your phone and from home to connect perhaps even on an even deeper level with your customers and your clients. And that was how my new business was born, because I didn't realize how many people really fear public speaking more than death. How many people refuse to be on camera without a filter on or without a script or even without a teleprompter. Some of the people who I've worked with from news stations are terrified of doing anything outside of a studio. How awesome that you have this unscripted place where you can go and play. And so now too, we're seeing it show up in college applications, job applications, and video is something that's following us everywhere. And so I feel really grateful that at the time it didn't really make sense. I thought that YouTube was the lesser than. I thought that it was just this little hidden corner of the internet. But now, if anything, it all makes sense for why it was a skill I needed to have. And I get really excited and geek out about it for a way that you can absolutely connect with people who you may have never met otherwise, had it not been for the Instagram or the Facebook or the YouTube or the podcast.
I think there are so many people who have kind of the common shared experience of sitting up late at night scrolling. All of a sudden an hour goes by and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I needed rest. I was so tired. But how do you take that kind of love and comfortability with social media and actually turn it into a business or turn it into a money-making venture?
Well, I mean, what you're talking about are slightly two different things, which is the creation journey and the consumer journey. And let's be honest, show of hands, how many of us are consuming more than we're creating? Even myself, who I create a lot of content, but I'll find myself in that place where I'll go, oh, wait a minute, I have been on for an hour, or worse, when you're like sitting on your couch and it's daylight and all of a sudden you look around and it's dark out and no lights are on in your house because you've just been stuck to your phone. And so regardless, even if you're someone who you're not necessarily interested in turning it into a business, I do believe if you're listening, we need to check ourselves to really ask ourselves if we have a healthy relationship with our screens, with our phones, with social media. Is it something that we are perhaps more addicted to than we even realize? Of course, local news is the heartbeat of everything, but do we really need to keep watching that same video or following that same topic on cable news over and over and over and over again when you know it's the same story every 15 minutes or an hour? And so I do really appreciate how, if you have an iPhone, for example, you can see your screen time, but not just that, you can see how many notifications you got. You can see how many times you've picked up your phone throughout the day. I had a client who reluctantly admitted that the other day he picked up his phone 4,000 times.
Wow.
He works in real estate and he was just constantly reaching over, flipping it over. And so something that I always suggest to anyone, regardless of what your goals are with social media, is do your best to figure out how can you create more than you consume, even if it's not directly to your feed. So what do I mean by that? At this point, we used to chase followers, we used to chase likes, but now those are two of the most passive things that you could do on a platform. It's just tapping a button, it's double tapping a photo. So it's going, okay, how can I actually interrupt the pattern and think about, could I leave a comment and not just like a little emoji, but could I actually tell this person, hey, I really appreciate this video, here's what I learned, or hey, I'm so grateful to have the two of you on my local news station to be able to trust the information that you're bringing. Could you send someone a DM saying, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever? Because let's be real, how many of those parasocial relationships do we have? And maybe they are people from your neighborhood. Maybe they're people who you went to high school with and you see their stuff all the time. You feel like you know exactly what's going on, their wedding, their babies, their new jobs, whatever, but yet you haven't actually hung out in person. And so it's no wonder that you feel so lonely. So how are you taking those relationships offline? How are you using Instagram to inspire you to actually go to the restaurant versus, let's think about how many times that we've saved a recipe or we've saved an idea, but we never actually go back into our saved folder. And so that's always something that I want to make sure that you have that healthy relationship as the foundation before we really decide where do we want to go with it next.
I love that. That's really important advice. Say we do want to take the next step, though. We want to go into content creation. We feel good about where we're at. How do you get started, especially if you're not like a techie person or if you feel kind of like, maybe I'm not looking so great or there's too many wrinkles today. I'm too old to jump into this land.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're not old, and there are people with wrinkles who are looking for wrinkles. And one of the things that I joke about is that the filters are effing you up. I won't say that word here, but it's pretty hard to replace that with anything else because we think that the filters are giving us confidence. In actuality, it's taking it away, especially if you're putting it on over makeup. And if you want to build trust with your community, then we want to see how you actually are. And so first things first, you want to get into a posting schedule consistently. What does consistent actually mean? Could be every day. Could be once a week. It really is up to you, but you want people to really see, what are you interested in? What are you about? And what are you hoping to gain? I like to say that your personal brand or your social media, it's a vehicle, not a destination. So if all you're trying to do is get more followers or get community, then you're probably going to burn out at some point. Think about, for you, what could it help you to do? Are you wanting to launch a product or a small business? Are you wanting to just make a little extra money on the side? Do you have something that you could share, whether it's packaging hyping it up or sharing information or value. What's something that you're an expert in? Whether it could be something like the news. It could be something like maybe math or maybe it's sewing or it's communication or whatever skill you're really passionate about, and start filming videos on your phone. Chances are you have one or you're watching us on one right now, and start with that. Use your phone to make videos. And for those of you who you think you're too old or you don't get it, well, there's a learning curve for everybody, but the easiest thing to do is to start with a platform that you're familiar with and start with a cadence that makes sense for you. And I think what's really important to acknowledge is that we see a lot of these things that are new. Like we see TikTok Shop, or even TikTok in general, short form video, or we see podcasts. We think that they're this brand new thing. It's really just history repeating itself. Because I actually believe, having worked in news, that y'all founded the short form video. You know what a news package is, that 30-second to 3-minute little stint trying to catch someone's attention, give them exactly what they need to know to then want to learn more. You're just starting a conversation. Podcast, what was the original one for that? The morning show. Whether it was on TV or it was you were listening to your radio and they had War of the Roses or whatever that is. TikTok Shop, that was Shop NBC, QVC, or even Sky Mall magazine. And so it's really just figuring out, okay, how can I use my phone, which does feel like a weird piece of plastic technological device, but how can I use this and think about it from the lens of, rather than it just being about me, who do you want to connect to? Who is it that you really believe needs to hear your content? Is it a younger version of yourself who you want to give advice to? Is it perhaps other moms who are also stuck with newborns in the house with you? Is it other teachers who you wish that they could say this, or you wish that you could take the class longer? Or you wish that you could go back to college and learn this? Like, really think about who could benefit from your content and think about them on the other side of the screen. And what you want to think about is that it's a long-term game. It's not like you're going to have one video, have it take off, or even 30 days of a video. You could go to the gym, you could eat a salad. That doesn't mean you're going to be in the best shape of your life just because you went once. You want to think about it as a long-term game, and also where let's just see if we can see the real, true, authentic version of you on the other side of that screen first.
I think that's great advice. It's so interesting. So much of it hits home for us. I think that's something that was really vulnerable for me to try and do, but I found success with, is just like filming videos at home with like no makeup on, or just like around my house, like doing whatever it is that I'm doing. Because one of the things with our schedule, people always ask like, oh, you get up at 2 a.m.? Like, what time do you go to bed? What time do you eat? Like, they just want to know because it's something that's different and interesting and unique. So Giselle, to your point, like just opening, like peeling back the curtain and letting people have a look like at what they don't see on TV every day has been something that's been a little like nerve-wracking for me, but also really fun to connect with people.
I'm going to be very honest. I am very happy with filters. I want all of the filters. I need the filters. Bring them on. I recorded one video at home while I was cooking something, and I was like, where are more filters? Give me all the filters. I have been up for like 18 hours. I'm exhausted. I feel exhausted.
But that's the stuff people can relate to, you know?
Yes.
I know, but you are kind of shattering my heart a little bit with that one, Giselle.
I know. It's only because here's the thing. Like, we can do the full glam and everything for TV, or you can get the spray tan or the hair extensions or the fake eyelashes. But the thing is that those things go with you. You can't take the filters with you. And so then what ends up happening is you might have your child take a photo of you. You might catch yourself in a mirror, or all of a sudden a friend takes a picture of you and they're not using a filter. And you're shocked to see how different you actually look because you've established this irrational filter for yourself that isn't actually ever going to come true. But to Simone's point too, it's that people want to see the real. And if you're someone who you have a true intention of using social media to build community, perhaps even build a business, or certainly build a brand, then things that we can think about is, okay, what is it that you do? How do you make money? So sharing more of that. It's also, how do you do your job? So I love that you were saying waking up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, all the work that goes into it, or even how tired you are at the end of the day. But even like, let's think about, for you, it's not that unique, but whether it is reading the teleprompter, running the teleprompter, how much time are you getting? What are you doing during your commercial breaks? Is that a green screen? Is it real? What does the studio look like? How do you pick out all of your awesome clothes that just look fantastic in all the colors? And how do you get your hair to do that thing? But then there's also the, how do you take care of yourself? People are really, really curious to know, how do you take care of yourself? Whether it's how do you do it all? How do you look the way that you do? What are some of the things things that you do for fun? Who are the people who you surround yourself with who make you feel good? And then last but not least, what's your story? Where did you come from? How did you get to that certain place? What did day one look like versus what does it look like now? What would 10 years ago or 20 years ago version of you think of who it is now? We want to see that evolution because that's how we build the connection. I think one of the mistakes that I see a lot of content creators make is they niche down, which is great if you are a business or if you are a product, but you're a person. And so the way that I describe personal brand is it's who you are stepping into who you want to be. It might be a little bit of a dialed up version of you, and that's fine. Just like you have to be a little dialed up on camera to let people into that experience. But it's an evolving human, just like you are. You're growing into a new person who you might outgrow friendships, you might outgrow dresses, you might outgrow relationships, and we want to grow with you. And that might be something where it grows slower than, say, an account that niches down. But what I see first and foremost is burnout is if you are a content creator and you are only a content creator and you have nothing else going for you, then that's where you're going to constantly seek the validation from the views, from the likes, from the response to your content. Versus if you have something else, if you have another job, if you have a family, if you have something to look forward to. And then the other piece to it is that too, the niche down. Then all of a sudden what you think is, well, people aren't going to like what I have to say, or they don't really care about what I think. Okay, but do we really want to surround ourselves with people who don't actually care what we have to say or like what we actually think? That's where we accidentally built a business with a face rather than a personal brand. And a personal brand is something that you could decide tomorrow, all right, I actually want to go do fix and flips and I want to go live on a farm and have all the chickens and the cows and I'm going to do something totally different, move into the middle of a small town. And even though it's totally different, we're like, oh my gosh, I want to follow that journey. What do you mean? Like you're going from Phoenix and now you're moving to Wyoming. Like I want to see what that's like. Like what does that journey look like? And so it's allowing for you to take people with you. And also that means losing people along the way and being okay with that and embracing all of the insecurity and the cringe that comes with it.
Are people actually making money off of this? What kind of money are content creators making?
Well, absolutely. It depends on, here's a thing. I think that there is this misconception of anytime that you see a creator talk about a product that they're making like $1 million or something like that. And that's really not the case. There are a few different ways that you can make money. There's views, which typically is pennies to the dollar when it comes to platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or even Snapchat. Unless every now and then they might have a bonus structure that might allow for you to make anywhere from $10, $25, or $100,000 in a day. It's rare, but it does happen. Then there's the next piece, which is affiliate concepts. That's when you might have someone who says, hey, comment this word, comment shirt, or comment link, and I'll send you a link to all the products inside of this video. Again, could be pennies to the dollar, but if, for example, they're selling an $100 or an $1,000 product, maybe it's a couch or a barbecue or a carpet, then all of a sudden that's where you can make significantly more money, especially if that video happens to go viral. And here's the thing too, is that it used to be that the only people who would follow you are people who chose to follow you. Now you see strangers on your feed all the time. And so your content has the opportunity to get in front of plenty of people who have no idea who you are. And so then you have something like TikTok Shop, where you can instantly buy from a live or from a video. And I have had clients have less than 1,000 followers, or actually I think they had exactly 1,000. So they had to have between 1,000 and 2,000 followers. And yet they made $10,000, $15,000 in a day just talking about one single product, such as a ring light, or one of them, it was a Father's Day journal. Another one, it was a beard trimmer. And again, an anomaly, but it's definitely possible. Then there's when the brand actually reaches out to you and says, hey, we want to work with you. We want you to represent our brand. We want you to make videos about our brand. Now, if the content creator doesn't have a lot of experience, they might say, sure, I'll do that for $50, or sure, I'll do that for $100. But if they're using your name, your image, your likeness, it's almost like being a paid actor or a paid model, where they can keep using your face in advertisements or perhaps put them on billboards or have them streaming. And that could be getting paid like an actor or a model, where it might be $10, $25, $250,000 just for that one deal. But the name of the game in all these situations is relationships. You have to have a community who's watching you, who's trusting you. You definitely want to be able to nurture your skills in terms of really showing what a transformation would look like. If you're just trying to get rich quick, if you're really smart, honestly, you probably could make a little bit of money. It might burn you out pretty fast, but it is one of those things that you're thinking about a long-term play, and you're thinking of it from the lens of business strategy versus just trying to have a little fun and let's just see what happens. But it's definitely possible, and it is wild. And then last but not least, if you have your own products, if you have your own courses, if you have your own downloads, then that's where people can make anywhere from, millions of dollars in a month or even in a day if it's something that you really truly refine and figure out how to pitch, how to launch, how to sell, and replicate that over and over and over.
It's so crazy. I just you're saying all this stuff, Giselle, and I'm like, yes, I want to do this. I want to do this. And it's I have this big list in my head of all these things I want to try to tackle and conquer. But I think that's when people, at least like me, I see all that. And that's when I say oh, well, there's no way I can do all that. So I just stop out of fear. But I'm trying to work on okay, well, I can post one video a day of hey, here's behind the scenes, what happened today in my life. And just like you said, that consistency and building that relationship. And I don't really know what tomorrow is going to look like, but come along with me and find out. And people really like that.
Yeah. Well, and the way that I've heard it described often is it's like an ATM machine, especially something like YouTube in particular, where I have this video that I made maybe 15 years ago. It is so embarrassing, you guys. My voice is so high. My skin is so orange. I'm overcompensating every word. You can just feel my insecurity radiating off of the screen. And I'm still making money off of that video 15 years later. Now, granted, it's not a super popular video anymore, but at the time it was a Minnie Mouse hair tutorial. So Halloween every year, I would get a random check from YouTube because that particular hair tutorial would just explode with people. And so it's something that I will have clients and even friends and peers who they're uploading videos every single week. And maybe you're getting a couple hundred views, or maybe it's just a couple dozen views. But over time, and especially once you hit that subscriber count of being able to make money from the ads, because think of how many times you've watched a YouTube video and all of a sudden an ad starts playing, whether you watch the first few seconds or if you have it in the background while you get up and change your laundry, that's still money that creator is making. And they didn't have to put that video up again for you to search it, look it up, share it with somebody else. And that also is one of those interesting forms of passive income that you don't typically hear people talk about when discussing different and unique ways of creating wealth these days. But that's the reality.
Before we let you go, we could ask you a million questions
I know.
all day long. I'm not going to take up that much of your time, but is there a certain platform that's better to be on, and how do you kind of tailor your content for each platform?
I always suggest starting where you are. At the same time, though, one thing that we learned when the TikTok era exploded is that for some of you, you've had the same people following you, everyone and their mom, for the last 10, 15, 20 years now. It's crazy that social media has been around for that long. And so for you, it actually makes sense to go somewhere where you think that no one's going to see you, just to see how you might show up more authentically or perhaps without a filter. And so consider those examples. Is one better than the other? No, the reality is there's possibilities everywhere. And no, Simone, it's not too late. You definitely can. But where you can burn out really quickly is trying to do all of it and all at once. Right. And so I really like how you set that realistic goal for yourself of, okay, I could do one a day, or I could perhaps play over here and do one a week. I do think that some of the lesser known platforms like LinkedIn, there's a significantly lower proportion of creators to consumers. And so in that sense, it's a lot easier to stand out and quickly whenever you're on a new or new-ish platform. LinkedIn's been around for a long time, but it's just starting to get into the game of the creator standpoint. TikTok Shop as well is also one of those. But really, truly, it's thinking about, okay, where do I already consume a lot? Where do I feel like I know the platform really well as a consumer? I've been reading the room in terms of figuring out who's paying attention. And now let's think about, okay, how could I use this platform to go from A to B to C? What do I ultimately want to do? And that's something that I accidentally learned because back in my YouTube days, I did not care about subscribers. I thought that YouTube was beneath me. My goal was I want to use YouTube to get on TV. I want to use YouTube to network and build relationships. It had nothing to do with views. I didn't care if one person watched my video. If anything, I was hoping that I would see one person watch my video versus just seeing the little egg every single time, because that would mean that they opened up the email and they saw the casting tape that I sent. So set some goals for yourself too, because otherwise, if your goal is just more, you're never going to hit it. You're going to feel worse about yourself. So really think about, what is my end game, or what is at least my next step? What am I hoping that this will help me to achieve or to sell? Or perhaps it's even just confidence in yourself to start showing up without a filter, speaking your thoughts, believing in your opinions. And that could be the greatest one of all.
Giselle, you have given us so much good stuff to think about. I have
had to hang out with you.
I have had so much fun with this conversation. If people want to find you, just shout out the social media platforms where you're easiest to reach.
I play the hardest and I check my messages the most on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. So you can definitely find me there. And hopefully I'll be back here soon. I'll be in Arizona next month actually for a gig. So it'd be awesome to connect.
Fantastic. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. This was really fun.
Good to see you. Bye, ladies.
That was such a fun conversation. I'm feeling inspired. She just had so much good energy.
I know. And I feel like everything she said was so relatable, at least from like someone who is a consumer, but also trying to kind of become more of a creator. It is so hard to just get like bogged down in all the technical aspects and all the antics and hashtags and everything that you see thrown in your face. So to just like break it down and kind of just be like, hey, be yourself, be relatable. And there's an audience for that.
Get started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the hardest part, is just getting started and showing up. And then, like she said, being consistent.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile news app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.